So one of you guys asked me to make a video about shadowing, so here it is. So shadowing a doctor is really helpful for figuring out how a doctor really goes about their day in a specific specialty. So it's really good for figuring out what kind of specialty you want to practice, what kind of practice setting you want to be involved in, and all the details of a doctor's practice and how their practice really is, as opposed to like things you just read about their job description. Again, as I mentioned before in previous videos, ideally with shadowing, you want to shadow whatever specialties you're interested in, and if you're a pre-med trying to shadow for medical school requirements or to improve your overall resume, you want to make sure that not only are you adding those hours to your resume, but you're also benefiting from it in your overall professional development or your desire to practice medicine. So how do you find shadowing opportunities? For medical students, it's a little bit easier. You can talk to your clerkship directors, you can talk to different physicians that come to events, for like club events, for example, because often medical schools you have like a PM&R club or a plastic surgery club, and those clubs often have different speakers from those professions that come and speak to students, and some of them are receptive to medical students coming in and shadowing at their clinic or the hospital that they work at. Also with medical students, they're expected to be in hospitals and clinical locations, so doctors are a lot more likely to accept them for shadowing opportunities. Often there's also like affiliate clinicians who work with the school closely or in different capacities. Even some of your professors in medical school work in clinics and hospitals, so you're able to more easily find shadowing opportunities by talking to these different individuals. Overall, since there's a lot more doctors involved with your classes and with the school, medical school that you're with, you have a lot more opportunities to network and connect with doctors who are willing to allow you to shadow with them. So for pre-meds, if you're lucky, you have a doctor parent or a friend of a friend's parent who is a doctor that you can maybe shadow with. If not, you may have to go to your pre-med academic advisor or your pre-med, whatever kind of pre-health advisor you have at your school. If there's maybe like a pre-med pre-health career center, they might have opportunities. I know our school had a lottery system where there were different positions that you could apply for, and if you're lucky, you'd be able to get into a shadowing position. If not, again, clubs could be helpful. Pre-med clubs don't usually have doctors come and talk to them, but some of them do, and through that, you may be able to connect with the doctor who allows you to shadow at their clinic. Again, networking is important, so different events at your school, even if you're an undergrad, could be helpful. Different healthcare events, different club events, and things like that. Directly emailing or calling local centers or doctors is also a great way. I would recommend trying to find doctors' email addresses or phone numbers on their website if they have them available publicly. Of course, you don't want to go trying to stalk them like some people do, I know. If their website or email is like openly on their website, then you can take advantage of that and try to email them or contact them directly. However, often you might have to go through a specific department to find them, and ideally you don't want to just call the front desk of a hospital, but rather try to target the actual department that you're going for. So if you're trying to shadow an otolaryngologist, perhaps try to call a otolaryngology office itself directly instead of going through the front desk of a hospital, since you'll often get stuck in this like phone tree and get referred to a bunch of people without actually talking to someone from that specific department. Another opportunity is to simply talk to your primary care physician. Often they have connections to other physicians as well, especially since they're in primary care, and since they are your doctor and they have a good relationship with you, hopefully they should be able to maybe help you get in, although this doesn't always work. If none of these works, or even if you want to add on to shadowing from different types of experiences, you can do something like volunteering at an underserved clinic like I did. You could do work with like scribing, and these opportunities allow you to either get closer to a doctor where you're able to ask them for more opportunities to shadow, or in the example of scribing, you're actually able to shadow patients while you're scribing, since you're there with the doctor seeing the patients. So how do you actually ask for the shadowing opportunity? Let's say for your email, for example, you should always be concise, be professional, but at the same time show your enthusiasm. So you can start with something like, Dear Dr. So-and-so, I'm a third year pre-med student who's been doing research in knee injuries at such and such lab. I'm also an athletic trainer. I'm extremely interested in orthopedic surgery. I saw that you were or sports medicine orthopedic surgeon, and I was wondering if you have any availability for me to come and shadow, or I was wondering if it'd be possible for me to come and shadow at your clinic. I would also include things like your resume, so the physician has an idea of your background, and of course you want to include relevant details in your resume, especially if they're related to the field or medicine. And keep in mind that you're going to have to probably apply to a lot of places, especially if you're a pre-med, but even as a medical student, since a lot of places don't want to have the excess trouble of having someone shadow with the physician, having to set up all those forms, having to deal with possible slowdown workflow. And so you're gonna have to apply to a lot of places, but even if you get a few that say yes, that should be good. So what to do before shadowing: make sure that you have professional clothes ready for you. For most clinics, you want to be dressed in like a shirt and a tie, dresses possibly for if you're a woman, but men need to be dressed in a shirt and dress pants. Make sure that you wear closed-toed shoes, and they should be flat, no heels or anything like that. If you are trying to shadow a surgery specialty, you want to make sure beforehand if you need to purchase your own scrubs, or if you can borrow scrubs at the center. You don't need to go out and buy like a white coat or a stethoscope unless you're trying to be some kind of like Instagram pre-med. Also, make sure you read about the cases beforehand. So if you're going to psychiatry, read about like common cases like depression, anxiety, different common medications like selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SNRIs, tricyclic antidepressants, and things like that. It's good to go in with some kind of base knowledge so you're not asking basic questions, and also so you get more of a rich experience from the overall shadowing. Next, make sure you come in with some questions about the doctor's overall lifestyle, or different types of cases, things about their experience like their likes and dislikes, positives and negatives, and things like that. What do you do during shadowing? Well, first of all, make sure you're following all the rules, you've done all the paperwork, you've had all the vaccines that you need and everything. Make sure you only eat food in the areas that you're supposed to. Make sure you wear certain color scrubs only in the areas that you're supposed to if there are certain rules for that. Make sure that you're aware of rules and you don't break rules, like going into the sterile field. I've known people who are shadowing who went into this, who contaminated the sterile field during surgeries, and the surgeons and the nurses had to replace all the equipment and bring out new ones. And that's something you definitely don't want to do. Also, make sure you abide by social media policies. So if a hospital doesn't allow you to post pictures, or even if they do, make sure you don't take pictures with like protected patient information or patients in the picture and publish that online. You really don't want to make sure you let any kind of patient information go out into the public, or even like your friends or anyone else, because it's a breach of privacy and you need to be aware of the HIPAA Act. During shadowing, you do want to bring a pen and a notebook and write down your experiences, kind of like a journal, different kind of experiences that really stuck out with you. If you had like a special kind of encounter with a patient or a doctor, different questions that you have that you want to ask the doctor at a more appropriate time, not during their overall workflow, but during their downtimes, like when they specifically ask you if you have questions, or if they have like an hour lunch break and they're open to questions. That's when you could ask them questions that you've written down throughout the day. So again, bring the notebook for journaling your experiences and also writing down questions. During one of my surgery shadowing programs, the coordinator mentioned that during shadowing you're supposed to be a fly on the wall, so make sure you're not impeding the physician's workflow. Make sure you're not trying to help patients or do some kind of medical procedures when you're not qualified for it. Really just try to keep yourself and not disturb the patient or the physician. Sometimes the physician may ask you to check out certain things, and make sure that you ask the patient for permission before you do that. And also always make sure you introduce yourself. Usually the physician will introduce you, but if they don't, make sure you remember to introduce yourself, and ask the physician beforehand how they prefer you to introduce yourself, like a pre-med student or a prospective medical student who's shadowing, or whatever it is, or whatever it may be. So really try to stay out of the way. However, realize that there are certain things that you can do, like if a doctor or a nurse or other staff member wants you to help them like file or deliver like or transport like a specimen or a like let's say gauze and like scalpels and sutures from one area to another, you can definitely help out with basic tasks like filing or whatever it is, and that's just a nice way to help out the center since they've been kind enough to let you shadow for them. So definitely try to do like basic tasks that anyone else can do that aren't like medical procedures, and be enthusiastic to help out with those tasks, since it can help physicians and other staff members out if you do help with those like basic tasks like that. And it's also a great way to build rapport with everyone. After shadowing, make sure you do not ever discuss any kind of patient info. You don't distribute it to anyone or even talk to specific bits of patient information with like friends or family. If you do have like a special case that you want to discuss, make sure to take out all kinds of identifying details like the patient's like name and age and things like that. Even if they do end up being someone who's like famous, you're not supposed to talk about them if they were like a patient. After shadowing, also make sure you write a handwritten note to the doctor. Ideally get them a gift as well, especially if you've been with them for an extended period of time, to show your appreciation for them. Maybe even the staff with at least thank you notes, but maybe even gifts. You don't have to do something that's over the top or like super expensive unless you want to, but even small things mean a lot, and it's more the thought again that counts. Lastly, if you had a particularly good experience at the clinic shadowing with that physician, or you don't really have a lot of other letters of recommendation with more of an active role, what you can do is ask the physician for a letter of recommendation, and I'll be making another video about letters of recommendation later on. However, ideally you want to ask the physician for a letter of recommendation pretty much as soon as you finish that experience, so the physician doesn't forget about you, what you did, or what happened with the whole experience. So ask them for a letter as soon as you're done with the experience, or as close to the end as possible if you have a something that you need to submit your application for with their letter coming up soon. So those are a few tips on how to find a shadowing opportunity, what to do during your shadowing opportunity to make the most of it, and also a few tips on what to do after shadowing opportunity. I hope that was helpful for you guys. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys like me to cover next. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and have a great rest of your day. Take care. So I actually recorded a reaction video for some memes, but what happened is, I don't know, I think the memes I got, so it was hard to find good memes and it ended up kind of boring. So do you guys want me to upload that, or should I just hold off on that? I feel like I should just hold off, but if you guys really want, I might consider actually editing it and putting it up. So let me know down below. Take care.